You know how you can live in the same house for years and one day, the light hits the wall differently, and you realize you don't recognize it anymore? That's how I feel about my marriage. My name is Rachel. I'm 41, and I've been married to Nathan for 8 years. It's not my first marriage, and I wasn't naive going into this one. When we met, he was charming in a tired kind of way. Like he'd lived a whole life before me. He had a son, Evan, who was still in high school at the time. I remember thinking, I'm too late to matter in the story that made him who he is. But he made me feel chosen. Desired. There was this deep, grounded hunger in how he touched me, like he knew I could unmake him and he was letting me. It wasn't fireworks, not the young, frantic kind. It was more like a warm, steady current under the skin. I trusted it. I needed it. And then, years pass. That current? It got colder. Quieter. These days, I fold laundry in silence while Nathan works late. Or scrolls on his phone next to me in bed like I'm made of air. He still kisses me, sometimes. But it's the kind of kiss where his lips touch mine, and I can already feel him halfway gone. A few nights ago, I leaned into him on the couch. It was a dumb movie playing, something he picked. I laid my head on his chest like I used to, waiting for his arm to pull me closer. But it didn't. It just hovered there. He gave this quick, absent pat on my arm, like he was clocking out of an emotional shift. That pat sat in my chest for hours after. I keep trying to remember when I stopped being Rachel and started becoming just Nathan's wife. Or when intimacy became another thing I had to schedule between laundry, groceries, and making sure Evan's spare room didn't turn into a junkyard. Evan. That's another layer of complication. He's 23 now. Back from college. Just temporarily, he said, until he figures out what's next. His presence in the house has stirred the air, made it less stale somehow. Maybe it's his youth, the way he moves through the rooms like he owns space in a way I've forgotten how to. Sometimes, I catch him watching me. Not in any way that makes me uncomfortable, just, attentively. Like I'm not invisible. It's jarring, honestly. Disarming. It makes me remember I have a body. That I'm not just background noise in my own home. But that's not where this started. It started with a towel. 2 nights ago, I was folding laundry at the foot of our bed. Nathan was downstairs finishing emails, or at least pretending to. I picked up one of his t-shirts, that soft navy one he used to wear when he'd pull me close and press his face into my neck like he couldn't get enough of me. I held it for a moment, pressing it to my face like muscle memory. I wanted to cry. Then Evan walked past the open door. He paused. Just for a second. Our eyes met. And something in his gaze, steady, unreadable, made me realize how hollow I'd become. How rarely anyone looked at me like I was there. He didn't say anything. Just nodded politely and moved on. But my hands shook after. I had to sit down on the bed, the laundry slipping to the floor. It wasn't sexual. Not really. It was the shock of being seen. That night, Nathan came up late, smelling like beer and exhaustion. He kissed my forehead like a priest giving a benediction and collapsed into bed. I lay next to him, staring at the ceiling fan spinning in slow, sad circles. And that's when it hit me. Not all at once, but like a quiet, creeping certainty. We weren't in love anymore. Not in the way that matters. Not in the way that saves you. That was the moment something cracked open in me, small, but irreversible. Like the first thread unraveling from a sweater you thought would last forever. Nathan thinks that touching me is the same thing as loving me. He's not a bad man. He really isn't. He works hard, a high school principal who brings stress home like a second coat. There's always some parent yelling in his inbox, some student he's worried about. I know it weighs on him. I know he thinks he's doing his best. And maybe, in his way, he is. But here's what he doesn't understand: when he touches me, grabs my hip while I'm cooking, slides his hand under my shirt when I pass the couch, it feels like he's skipping steps. Like I'm a page he wants to dog-ear instead of read. Last night, it happened again. We were in the kitchen. I'd just made dinner, chicken and rice, nothing fancy, but it was hot and homemade. Evan had already taken his plate up to his room. I think he's trying to give us space, though that somehow makes it worse. Nathan came up behind me while I was rinsing dishes. His arms wrapped around my waist, and he pressed his face into my neck like he used to. For a moment, I leaned into it, wanting to believe in it. Wanting to forget how much effort it's been lately to feel close. But then he whispered, "Let's go upstairs." Now. Not, "How was your day?" Not, "You seemed a little off, are you okay?" Just sex. Again. My shoulders tensed, and I felt his body respond, pulling me closer, mistaking my stiffness for need. I had to step away. "I still need to clean up," I said, too sharply. He backed off with a sigh that landed heavy between us. We ate in silence. He kept glancing at his phone. I kept glancing at the clock. Later that night, I crawled into bed early, hoping maybe he'd join me and talk. We used to do that, talk about dumb things. His students. My freelance design work. Our dreams for some beach house we'd never afford. But he didn't come up. Instead, I heard him laughing downstairs. TV glow flickering under the door. I lay there alone, under the weight of what wasn't happening. This morning, I tried to apologize. Even though I didn't know what I was apologizing for. "I've just felt a little off lately," I said, pouring coffee while he scrolled through his phone. "I don't know, weird." He glanced up, his brow furrowing like I'd interrupted something serious. "What do you mean weird? Are you sick?" "No," I said, a little too fast. "Just, disconnected." He nodded slowly, but his eyes were already back on his screen. "You probably need to get out of the house more." That was the moment I wanted to scream. "I don't need errands. I need you. I need your presence. Your attention. Your desire to actually know what's going on inside me." But I didn't say that. I just went upstairs to fold laundry. Again. That's where I live now, between fabric softener and lonely thoughts. I bent over the bed to pull a fitted sheet into something that resembled order, and just like clockwork, he came into the room. No hello. No pretense. Just hands on my hips. I flinched. Not hard. But he felt it. "What's going on with you?" he asked, stepping back like I'd slapped him. I turned, holding the sheet like it could protect me. "You don't ask me how I am anymore. You just reach for me like I'm a switch." His jaw tightened. "So now I'm not even allowed to want my wife?" "That's not what I said." "Sure sounds like it." It spiraled from there. We didn't raise voices, we never do, but there was a cold finality to how he left the room. Like he'd decided this wasn't his problem. And I stood there, feeling absurdly small, still holding the half-folded sheet like proof of my own unraveling. I know he wants me. But wanting isn't the same thing as seeing. It's not the same thing as caring about what's underneath the skin, what's raw and trembling and unsure. I don't want to be touched like a checkbox. I want to be held like a question. And he doesn't know how to do that anymore. This morning, he brought me coffee in bed. It should have been sweet, it was sweet, and I know that. He even remembered I like a little cinnamon in it. He kissed my shoulder through the blankets and whispered, "I figured you could use a little spoiling." I smiled. I did. I even thanked him. But inside, something stiffened. Braced. Because I knew what would follow. And sure enough, the moment lingered too long. His hand drifted from my shoulder down to the small of my back, then lower. A slow, familiar trail. He leaned in and kissed my neck. I held my breath, waiting for warmth to come. For desire. For that sense of being pulled toward him. It didn't. I let him kiss me, but my body felt like it was watching from across the room. I didn't recoil, not visibly, but I froze, just slightly. A flicker. Enough for him to notice. "You okay?" he asked, lips still close to my skin. "Yeah," I said. "Just tired." "Too tired for me?" he teased, lightly swatting my hip under the blankets. And I laughed, or tried to, but it came out brittle. Like glass cracking under a boot. He sighed and pulled back. I felt the mattress shift as he sat at the edge, rubbing his hands together like he wasn't sure what to do next. "You've been somewhere else lately," he said quietly. "I'm trying here, Ratch." "I know. That doesn't sound like you believe me." I said I know. My voice rose sharper than I meant, and he turned slightly, looking at me with that wounded expression I've started to hate, the one that makes me feel like the villain for being emotionally starved. He stood and grabbed his phone off the dresser. "I've got a meeting at 9. Maybe we can talk later." I nodded, but I already knew we wouldn't. Later, I tried to talk myself out of it. I told myself I'm hormonal. Tired. Overthinking things. I told myself this is marriage, real marriage, and not some movie where you make out against kitchen counters every day for a decade. But still, when he brushed against me in the hallway after dinner and let his hand graze my butt like he used to, like it was some kind of invitation, I froze again. My skin crawled before I could stop it. I saw his face change. The confusion. The quiet hurt. "Seriously?" he muttered, just loud enough. I turned toward the sink and said nothing. "It's not that I don't want him. It's that I want to feel like a person first. A soul, not a body. And right now, I don't. I feel like a door he keeps trying to open without knocking." We sat on the couch later that night, me in my robe, legs tucked under me, a blanket over my lap. He tried again. This time more tenderly. His hand found my thigh. He leaned his head on my shoulder and kissed the side of my neck. I closed my eyes and tried to will myself to feel something. Anything. All I could think about was the laundry still waiting to be folded. The bills I hadn't opened. The silence that always followed our touches now. I tilted my head just slightly away. He didn't say anything, but he stopped kissing me. He stood after a few minutes and went to bed alone. I sat there for a long time, staring at the muted TV screen, the remote still in my hand. In the quiet, one thought kept spinning around and around, heavier every time. Why does everything have to turn into sex? It happened at dinner. Of course it did. Because everything is normal until it isn't. Nathan made lasagna, his signature I still care dish. He even opened a bottle of red, set the table, lit the stupid candles I bought months ago on sale, thinking we'd use them during a cozy night in. Evan joined us, which surprised me. He's usually quiet in the evenings, tucked away in his room with headphones and job applications that he never talks about. But that night, he came downstairs, freshly showered, hair still damp. He complimented the food, made a joke about how it beat dorm meals, and helped clear plates before I even stood up. He was present. And for a moment, the room felt light again. Until Nathan ruined it. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand in that very deliberate, public way, the kind that says, "See? We're okay. We're affectionate. Witness this, everyone." I gave him a half smile, tried to pull my hand back, but he held on. "Babe," he said, with that voice. That performance voice. "Tell Evan about our trip idea." The one to Vancouver. You said you wanted to do something fun this fall. I froze. The wine in my stomach turned to acid. Because I hadn't said that. Not really. I mentioned a vague someday trip 2 months ago when we were avoiding talking about anything real. And now he was using it like proof that we were still dreaming together. I never said that, I muttered, trying to keep my tone even. Nathan blinked. Yeah, you did. You said you wanted to drive up, see the coast, maybe do that glass walkway. I mentioned it. I didn't say I wanted to go with you. Silence. Evan shifted in his seat, looking suddenly fascinated by the remnants of garlic bread on his plate. Nathan dropped my hand like it had burned him. Jesus, Rachel. And that was it. The floodgates. You sit here pretending everything's fine, like some dinner and candles make up for months of not seeing me, of brushing past me like I'm a damn coat rack. You don't ask me how I feel. You don't listen when I tell you something's wrong. You just try to touch me, like sex is some reset button and I'm supposed to light up on command. He stared at me like I'd slapped him. You think I'm cold? You think I'm withholding? My voice was cracking now, trembling under the weight of everything I'd held in. I fold your laundry, I wash your dishes, I lie next to you every night like a corpse and you don't even notice. Do you know what it feels like to flinch when your husband touches you? To dread being wanted? Nathan stood up, shaking his head, jaw clenched. Not here, he muttered, glancing at Evan. But I couldn't stop. Oh, now it's not appropriate? Now you care who sees? Evan stood abruptly. I'm gonna go upstairs, he said, his voice tight. He moved fast, eyes down, like he was escaping a fire. And I sat there, breathing hard, tears streaking my cheeks, my hands still clenched in my lap. Nathan stood silently for a moment, then walked out, didn't say a word. Just the soft shuffle of his socks down the hallway and the bedroom door closing too gently behind him. Afterward, I sat alone in the dining room, still trembling. The lasagna on my plate had gone cold. The candles flickered gently, oblivious. And I felt it then, the shame. Heavy and sharp. I hadn't meant to bring Evan into it. Hadn't meant for him to witness that. I wanted to disappear. To rewind the whole night. Or maybe the whole year. But even under the guilt, something else whispered. At least I said it. At least I finally broke the silence. Still. I hated myself for how it came out. For how it made me look. Hysterical. Ungrateful. Bitter. I imagined Nathan downstairs, thinking exactly that. And I imagined Evan upstairs, wondering what the hell he'd walked into. I leaned my head down onto the table, eyes closed, and whispered to no one, why does everything have to turn into sex? It's been 12 days since the dinner blow up. Not that I'm counting. We've barely spoken, and when we do, it's clipped, functional. What time's your meeting? There's mail on the counter. Can you pick up dish soap? That's the new language of us. No apologies. No yelling. Just silence. The kind that fills every room like fog, coating things we haven't had the courage to name. Nathan sleeps on the far edge of the bed now. Not on the couch, he's not dramatic like that, but just far enough that I can't pretend we're still reaching for each other in our sleep. And still. I miss him. I miss the way he used to laugh in the morning when he spilled coffee on his shirt. The way he'd rest his hand on my thigh during long drives, not to start anything, just to say I'm here. I want to be here. I even miss the bad TV shows he made me sit through, the ones I rolled my eyes at but secretly looked forward to. Now? He gets home, tosses his keys in the bowl by the door, and disappears into the bedroom or the garage. He doesn't even pretend to try anymore. And here's the part one hate the most, I know I hurt him. He's not a monster. He's just a man who doesn't know what to do with a woman who's unraveling. He tried in the ways he knew how, touch, gifts, gestures, and I pushed them all away. Maybe not always gently. Maybe not fairly. Yesterday, I passed by the garage and saw him sitting in the old camping chair, staring at nothing. Just holding a wrench like he forgot why he came out there. His face was slack, tired in a way that had nothing to do with work. And something twisted in me. Because I realized, he misses me, too. But he doesn't know where I went. Neither do I. Even Evan's keeping his distance. He's polite, always polite, but there's a tension in the air when we're in the same room now. He hurries through meals, avoids eye contact. I know I scared him that night. I know I made him a witness to something no kid, not even a grown one, wants to see from a parent. There are moments I think about apologizing to him. I rehearse the words. But then Nathan walks into the room and they dissolve in my mouth. Last night, I stood in the laundry room, folding a stack of towels. What else is new? My hands moved on autopilot. Fold, press, stack. But my mind was elsewhere, on Nathan. On how I used to fold his shirt slowly, smoothing out every wrinkle like I was tending to some quiet, loving ritual. Now I just fold. Just finish. But something happened, something stupid and small. One of his t-shirts had slipped between the towels. That navy one. The one I used to steal from his drawer when we first got together. The one that still smells like him, even after all this time. I held it for a long moment. Brought it to my face. And I cried. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just soft, stunned tears that came out before I could stop them. Because I remembered. I remembered loving him. I remembered being loved. I don't know what's left between us. But I know this, if I walk away now, it won't be out of certainty. It'll be out of exhaustion. And that's not the same thing. So tonight, I'm going to knock on the door of the garage. Just knock. Just start. Because maybe, just maybe, neither of us knows how to fix this, but I still believe in people who try. The garage smelled like dust and old oil. Nathan was sitting in the camping chair again, elbows on knees, scrolling through his phone without really seeing it. He didn't look up when I knocked, but he knew it was me. I heard his breath catch. That subtle shift in the air when silence gets interrupted by history. Can I sit? I asked, voice low. He nodded once, still not meeting my eyes. I sat on the workbench across from him, palms flat on the wood. We stayed like that for a while. Not speaking. Just breathing in the space between us. Finally, he said, I don't know how to make you want me anymore. The words landed hard, not cruel, not even accusing, just true. Painfully, undeniably true. I don't think it's about want, I replied. It's about not knowing who we are to each other anymore. He looked up. His eyes were rimmed red, like maybe he'd cried when I wasn't around. Or maybe he hadn't slept. I couldn't tell. I miss you, he said. I felt that. God, I felt it so much I wanted to break open. But still, something in me hesitated. I miss you too, I whispered. But missing someone isn't the same as feeling safe with them. His face twisted, not in anger, but in grief. The kind that swallows sound. I didn't mean to make you feel like just a body, he said after a moment. I thought I was showing you love. I didn't realize I was skipping the part where you needed to feel understood. I nodded slowly. And I didn't realize I stopped letting you in. I just started, shutting down. We sat like that, in quiet, tired honesty. Then, carefully, he stood up and crossed the room. He didn't reach for me at first. Just stood there, waiting, eyes asking something without words. And I nodded. He wrapped his arms around me, slow and careful, like we were learning how again. My cheek pressed into his chest. His hand cupped the back of my head. It wasn't fiery. It wasn't some great cinematic reconciliation. But it was real. And I held on to it. Held on to him. Even as something in both of us knew this wasn't the end of the storm. It was just the first moment we'd admitted we were caught in one. Eventually, we went back inside. He slept on the couch that night, not out of punishment, but space. A new kind. The kind that might make room for healing. Before I went upstairs, I brought him a blanket. He looked up and managed a tired smile. "Thanks," he said. And before I turned away, I leaned down and kissed his forehead. Bittersweet. Quiet. Unfinished. But maybe not too late. It's strange, the way clarity comes. Not as a lightning strike. Not even as a conversation. But in the small, unnoticed moments. For me, it was folding laundry. That same rhythm. That same silence. The weight of it in my hands, the repetition of it, over and over again, like I was trying to put my life back into order, one shirt at a time. I used to think losing connection in a relationship meant a single, dramatic break, cheating, betrayal, screaming matches at midnight. But that's not how it happens. Not really. It's quieter. Slower. You stop meeting each other's eyes when you talk. You stop talking unless you need something. You reach for someone out of habit, and get nothing back but muscle memory. And when touch becomes routine instead of reverence, that's when you start to disappear. I spent so much time thinking something was wrong with me. That maybe I wasn't enough, not soft enough, not sexy enough, not grateful enough. I'd flinch when Nathan touched me and then lie awake, hating myself for it. Wanting to want him. Wishing I could just flip the switch and go back to how it was in the beginning. But here's the truth, desire doesn't live in skin. It lives in being seen. And I hadn't felt seen in a long, long time. That's what I learned. Desire starts long before a kiss. It starts in a question. In a quiet, "How are you really?" asked without distraction. It starts in knowing someone is listening, not fixing, not assuming, not claiming your body as proof of closeness. I needed to feel chosen, not claimed. And I'd stopped choosing myself, too. That's the part I'm owning now. I let myself vanish into routines. I stopped reaching back. I stopped being honest, not just with Nathan, but with myself. I thought silence was safer than disappointment. But silence is its own kind of betrayal. And Nathan, he's not the villain in this story. He's a good man, doing his best with the tools he had. He just didn't know I needed something else. Something quieter. Something deeper. We're trying now. It's awkward. Messy. There are still days when I turn away out of habit, and he still misreads what I need. But at least we've stopped pretending. At least now, when he puts his hand on my back, I can say, "Not yet." And he hears me. That's new. That matters. Evan moved out last week, found a job in another city. We didn't talk about what he witnessed that night, and maybe that's okay. Some moments are meant to be left unexplained. But before he left, he hugged me longer than usual. "I hope you're okay," he whispered into my shoulder. And I said, honestly, me too. Because I don't have all the answers. I'm not tied up in a neat little bow. But I'm here. And I'm choosing to stay. For now. Maybe that's the best any of us can do. Choose again. Not because everything's fixed. But because something is worth trying for. So if you're folding laundry, and you feel like you're unraveling, if you flinch at a kiss that used to set you on fire, if you wonder when exactly you stopped feeling like yourself, You're not broken. You're not alone. Love doesn't die in a day. It dies in neglect. But sometimes, not always, but sometimes, it can be brought back. Not with sex. Not with flowers. But with one person saying, I miss you, and the other finally answering, I'm still here. And meaning it.